If you like Mexico, you shouldn't have left. If you didn't like Mexico, you should have changed it. I was protesting the United States of America's involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan. I deployed to Afghanistan. And I was told by immigrants at the college where I was protesting, I was told by immigrants, legal immigrants, but immigrants, Iranian immigrants, if you don't like it, leave. If you don't like it, leave. If only the world were that simple. There are few worldviews more contemptible than this expression, if you don't like it, leave. It implies that the individual in question has no agency, has no responsibility, has no right. And it's clear in the actions of the greater part of the population of this earth we inhabit that this is the common consensus. If you don't like it, leave. If cartels are ravaging your country, flagrantly disregarding the law, leave. No one, of course, stops to think, well, if we don't like something and we just abandon it, won't that thing continue? If no one stops that thing we don't like, won't that thing just grow and grow and grow and grow? You know, I was taught, to what extent it's true, I couldn't swear, but I was taught that one of the primary motivating factors for the white Europeans who fled Europe, who risked their life to come to this unknown country, this unknown continent, was that they desired freedom to express their values, beliefs, and opinions, free from governmental interference. So they really did, in a way, leave what they did not like. But
it was like a little son about Oscar. That nigga like Diddy, son.
Yes, if you come into the room, you can just take a seat and be silent. Or you
Why I gotta be quiet, yo, bro? My whole rooms all the time, bro. Like, niggas don't gotta be quiet in the room.
You gotta do what I tell you to do in my room, Stalin. You like that? You don't like that?
My rooms are removed. You simply.
I would never be found in one of your rooms because I don't go and hang out with chimpanzees.
Oh shit.
So the settlers, the pilgrims, the Quakers, these people did leave in a very Kaczynskian Weaver way. Theodore Kaczynski tried to get away from it all. Randy Weaver tried to get away from it all. Everyone who died at Waco tried to get away from it all. But these settlers, they come to the United States. They come to what was, then an unknown, unexplored continent. The Spanish got here first. They had several settlements in Florida. I wasn't taught that. I had to learn that. It wasn't readily available information, but they wanted to avoid religious persecution. And I'm not saying they were being put to death or tortured, but they knew that they weren't free to explore their values. And so they took their religious principles with them over to the United States, and they formed a Christian nation. Now, they relied very heavily on the business interests of the crown of the empire from which they had fled. But they came to a point where they recognized that they were not going to be allowed to have the luxury of running. They could not move west fast enough to avoid the couriers, the horses, the messengers, the edicts, the taxes, the impositions. And they were willing to face that, to turn and to stop running from what they didn't like, from what made them uncomfortable. And they took a stand. And they took a stand in an advantageous position. The logistical requirements to send an army across a sea can't be understated. At the same time that the British Empire is embroiled in several other conflicts. But they took a stand. They said, clearly and definitively in the Declaration of Independence, we're not going to run away. We're not going to just leave because we don't like it. We're going to fight. We're going to establish for ourselves and for our posterity a justification for resistance to tyranny. The United States of America does not exist any longer. All that we have is political theater, people who are pantomiming and play acting because you continue to participate. You haven't left the theater. You're still watching. And if you're still watching, they're going to send more actors on stage because the longer you spend in the theater, the longer they have to take all of your property, to take all of the property, to take all of the wealth and all of the real assets. And we need to set the theater on fire. If we're going to ever have a chance of meaningfully creating a nation of law, you have to viciously punish those who rule by fiat. So the three-step plan is secure the border with lethal force. You will not have a state unless you do so. Deport with prejudice. With prejudice. Every single person who has come into the country in violation of the nation's laws. That cannot be negotiated. And then most importantly, you have to establish the criteria and prosecute every single person who aided or abetted that invasion. We can't allow, like, parents who don't want to punish their child, this equivocation, this sniveling and whining from all of these bureaucrats, that they were just doing what they were told, that they were just trying to do the right thing, that they acted out of an abundance of concern for the integrity of the species, of the human condition. If America has something good, if America has something desirable, it is because Americans fought and bled and died to establish it. It was hard won, and it ought to be defended. At home, here, in our nation, it must be defended. Not abroad, not in Syria, not in Israel, not in Ukraine. Here, within the contiguous borders of the United States of America. We have issues, we need to resolve those issues. A lot of serious issues. But none of those issues will matter if we don't even have a nation. And I think we're distracted and confused and arguing about nonsense without even realizing there's no longer a nation. Why are we arguing about the direction of a hypothetical vehicle that will never exist? There's no engine. There's no timing. There's no drive shaft. But we're very enthusiastic in arguing about which way the vehicle should go. But the vehicle is rusted and fallen apart. It's been picked for parts. Oligarchs have come by piece and taken everything of any value. And you we've been left with political theater. Now, there's a white supremacist, Thomas777 on Twitter, and this character, Cat Girl Kulak, or whatever, and he wrote something. They wrote something that was really enlivening. The United States is not an empire. And we talk about the global American empire. We talk about the West. And we imply that it is, in fact, an empire, that it is, this is the late stage decay of an empire, and it enters the common parlance. But this isn't strictly true. The British Empire was an empire. It was unapologetic in its conquest and its responsibility. We're not even an empire. We're a pathetic amalgamation of comfortable individuals who have been slowly and steadily indoctrinated and can no longer recognize what is in their best interest. We've exported debt to the rest of the world, and we think that we can use violence to avoid the consequences. We continue to follow the edicts, the decrees, the legislation of politicians who exploit us incessantly, who are approved of, who are tacitly and willfully, 98% re-election rate for Congress. And we don't do anything about this. Can we at least engage in a hypothetical that there is a possibility, there is a strong possibility that if we look at the world around us and we see that, over the last 3 years, we've had out of control inflation, record unaffordability in homes and shelter. Can we say, well, maybe this isn't the best that things could be? We've got this idea in our heads that we really are being led by the best and the brightest. And that is a profoundly stupid conclusion. We're being led by the greediest. We're being led by the opportunists. That's a fact. And we are being led.
We're getting picked up. That's what it is.
We're going to be pimped out very badly when World War III commences, and we realize that we are just going to be harvested.
Yeah, but if the 3-step plan, we gotta take action. Secure the border. I agree with everything that you're saying right now.
Well, that agreement should be met it should be coupled with a call to action, and that call to action is to positively affirm and assert the following: that you, that I, and that no one else truly committed to improving the condition of this nation, to defending this nation's existence as a sovereign territory with a government by the consent of the governed, established for the consistent enforcement of law and for the prosperity of our posterity, that we will not in any way, shape, or form, in word or in deed, support men who lack integrity and who will not assert the same, that the border must be secured with lethal force, by any and all means up to and including the use of lethal force. That and they must speak plainly, and they must speak clearly, as men of integrity do, that each and every person who transgressed the border of this country and of the several states be deported with prejudice, without regard for their property obtained through illegal means, without regard for their relations, several of which may have obtained a legal status, with prejudice, and with the understanding that they will never be allowed to re-enter the country. And we must not support anyone who cannot plainly explicate these 3 simple steps. Terminating finally, and the most important step, which is to establish courts, to imbue them with prosecutorial jurisdiction, to prosecute everyone who aided, abetted, and provided comfort to the invaders of this nation. If you continue to support liars, known liars, men who lack integrity, men who have violated their promises to you, men who have promised to deport 11 million immigrants and deported less than their Democratic opposition, men like Donald Trump, if you continue to vote, you continue to think in word and in deed to support liars, unprincipled charlatans, demagogues, you are my enemy. You are an enemy of the state. You are an enemy of justice. You are an enemy of the rule of law consistently, thoroughly, and fairly and justly applied. It is not, and it cannot be accepted as a necessary evil, an excusable act, to in any way support this perfidy.
I think it's pronounced perfidy.
Perfidy, thank you, John. I knew I was reaching there. No, it's perfidy. You're wrong. Perfect. Look it up.
Anyways, I'm enjoying myself over here. Good morning.
I don't want to know what you're doing.
I'm smoking weed and drinking a Peroni Nastro Azzurro.
What's the 3-step plan, John?
Repel the invaders with lethal force.
John, I'm going to stop you right
Arrest
there.
and detain with vigilance.
I don't want to kick you. I will kick you.
Strike me down, Darth, and thou shalt make me more powerful than thou can possibly imagine.
John, it's 3 simple steps. That's it. And the words need to be the same, right? Because this is a shibboleth. It's a shibboleth. You know what a shibboleth is, John?
I'm not an Ashkenazi Jew like you.
Do you know what a shibboleth is?
No.
Okay. Well, a shibboleth is a word or phrase. It's a signal that helps you identify like-minded individuals. It helps you identify allies. So when I ask you what the 3-step plan is, I'm not asking you to make up some kind of song and dance and, mnemonic device to paraphrase. I'm asking you to recite the shibboleth. Secure the border with lethal force. Deport with prejudice. Try for treason. 3 simple steps, a couple of words, and you should memorize it, and you should be able to memorize it, and you should be able to say it. Allow me to imprint that on your consciousness, and then you go out and you spread that, and allow it to invade others' consciousness. What's the 3-step plan, John?
Everybody's dirty Jewish.
Repel the invaders with lethal force, deport with prejudice, arrest for treason. I can't. God. Oh my God. Welcome to dangerous white supremacist Nazi lies with Diogenes Spooner.
Weaver way. Theodore Kaczynski tried to get away from it all. Randy Weaver tried to get away from it all. Everyone who died at Waco tried to get away from it all. But these settlers, they come to the United States. They come to what was, then an unknown, unexplored continent. The Spanish got here first. They had several settlements in Florida. I wasn't taught that. I had to learn that. It wasn't readily available information, but they wanted to avoid religious persecution. And I'm not saying they were being put to death or tortured, but they knew that they weren't free to explore their values. And so they took their religious principles with them over the United States, and they formed a Christian nation. Now, they relied very heavily on the business interests of the crown of the empire from which they had fled. But they came to a point where they recognized that they were not going to be allowed to have the luxury of running. They could not move west fast enough to avoid the couriers, the horses, the messengers, the edicts, the taxes, the impositions. And they were willing to face that, to turn and to stop running from what they didn't like, from what made them uncomfortable. And they took a stand, and they took a stand in an advantageous position. The logistical requirements to send an army across a sea can't be understated. At the same time that the British Empire is embroiled in several other conflicts. But they took a stand. They said, clearly and definitively in the Declaration of Independence, we're not going to run away. We're not going to just leave because we don't like it. We're going to fight. We're going to establish for ourselves and for our posterity a justification for resistance to tyranny. The United States of America does not exist any longer. All that we have is political theater, people who are pantomiming and play acting because you continue to participate. You haven't left the theater. You're still watching. And if you're still watching, they're going to send more actors on stage, because the longer you spend in the theater, the longer they have to take all of your property, to take all of the property, to take all of the wealth and all of the real assets. And we need to set the theater on fire. If we're going to ever have a chance of meaningfully creating a nation of law, you have to viciously punish those who rule by fiat. So 3-step plan is secure the border with lethal force. You will not have a state unless you do so. To deport with prejudice. With prejudice. Every single person who has come into the country in violation of the nation's laws. That cannot be negotiated. And then most importantly, you have to establish the criteria and prosecute every single person who aided or abetted that invasion. We can't allow, parents who don't want to punish their child, this equivocation, this sniveling and whining from all of these bureaucrats, that they were just doing what they were told, that they were just trying to do the right thing, that they acted out of an abundance of concern.
keeps saying we have a dream, we have a dream. Once upon a time you had a dream and it took you thousands of years to reach it. And it's definitely not going to take us thousands of years. I see the destruction of Israel imminent. I honestly, maybe my grandfather didn't see it as close, but today we are closer to it. We're closer to it. Look at your society.
I don't agree with
Look at your state. Almost, you are incapable of fighting on two.
I agree with you that
Hear me out.
we do it by ourselves, not
You are incapable.
But I don't need you to tell me my problems.
You have air superiority, and you have nukes. Number one, the nukes, you can't use them. Number two, your air superiority is even that is in jeopardy today. I mean, Hezbollah took down your top one drone that you've produced. And the thing is, you're incapable of fighting on two fronts. Look, you are in a quagmire. In Gaza, in little Gaza, that you have put siege to for 16 years. Little Gaza that manufactured everything they have from zero, from nothing. From fucking smuggling some materials through the tunnels. And you can't beat Gaza. Your chief of staff resigned 2 days ago saying we failed in Gaza. The American State Department said Israel has failed in Gaza. Your objectives in Gaza are untenable.
On the timeline of this vision,
Marvin, why are you cutting me off? Do you hear me
I
speaking
want
or are you
to
done?
ask you a serious question.
No, but when I'm done, you can ask me the question.
Go ahead.
And then for domestic consumption, your leaders come out and say, Ben-Gvir and some others, oh, we should bomb Hezbollah, we should obliterate Hezbollah, we should invade Lebanon. Fucking do it. Wallah, I want you to do it. Go and do it. But you won't. And Netanyahu's not dumb. He knows if he goes in there, he's going to get fucked up. If you're incapable of fighting, we're not even talking about two nation states. We're talking about Gaza, a little city, and we're talking about Hezbollah, an organization in southern Lebanon. And these two you cannot beat.
Make it pretty short. Take all the other people want to.
I'm going to let Marvin ask me the question. Hold on. Go ahead, Marvin.
Okay, so let's just kind of walk along this path that you're describing. Just on a serious note, let's just have this conversation. That a two front war is always a very challenging war, right? We know that. And so I would say to you, help me understand what you think the current state of this. And this is the hard question, right? It's hard to describe what is the state of the war in Gaza because it's not clear how many Hamas operatives are still, in the area, right? But where do you think right now? What's the timeline look at? Because IDF has said it would be 2.5 months now. They said a couple weeks ago, 3 months. Do you agree with that timeline, or what do you think is going to happen in 3 months?
I think the war is coming to an end. And Hamas is still very strong. What we witnessed today is as if we're still in October 7th. Just a week ago, Hamas infiltrated so-called Israeli territories again, bypassed 6 divisions of the IDF, reached, and this speaks of the high intelligence that they have, reached the center in control of Rafah, the IDF center in control of Rafah.
Rafah and
we're
Rafah.
seeing, and whenever possible, Hamas documents and Hamas releases footages showing the magnificent operations that they're carrying out. Hamas is still strong, and I know that for a simple reason. If Hamas was weakened in Gaza, you would have seen a more harsher response on the northern front. You would have seen Hezbollah escalate even further. Hezbollah isn't escalating that much. And that's because Hamas is still in control of the situation in Gaza. Now, what are we seeing in Gaza, and what have we seen in Gaza in the last 9 months? Is killing of civilians. That's what they do. That's what they do. But are they capable of beating Hamas? No.
Okay, so
Their own intelligence community has said it. Their own media has said it. The U.S. State Department has said it. The New York Times, Washington Post reporting, and according to some leaks from the U.S. intel community, have said it.
Okay, so you believe the war is coming to an end, and this end
Hamas's terms. It's going to come to that the Israelis will withdraw from Gaza, and eventually there will be a prisoner swap. The Israelis have no other option.
Okay.
They cannot continue down this path. Gaza is a cesspool of destruction for Israel. Ariel Sharon is not a liberal or a snowflake or a lefty. Ariel Sharon is as harsh as Bibi Netanyahu. Ariel Sharon committed tons of massacres against Palestinians and Lebanese, whether in Palestine or in Lebanon. Ariel Sharon invaded Lebanon, lied to the U.S., lied to the West, lied to his own country's politicians, right? And he said it. He knew it back then in 2005. He said it. We cannot stay in Gaza. We can't. The reason why they got out of Gaza is because of the cost that Hamas was exacting on them. You cannot have the IDF stationed in Gaza. They were being targeted and taken down Hamas. It was akin to Hamas setting rat traps to the IDF in Gaza. They can't stay there.
Okay, so then by agreement on Hamas's terms, and that agreement's kind of like a ceasefire, or just, I don't know if you want to call it a ceasefire, but it's an agreement. We'll call it whatever you want, right? And this is a very hard question too. I don't think that anybody has the answer, but do you think that would happen in 3 months or in 10 months? Kind of like a rough order of magnitude.
I think 3 months is reasonable.
Okay, so ish, right? Okay, so whether it's 2 or whether it's 5.
Well, what's the point of this? Go ahead.
Just so I can understand, like clearly you have a vision. I just want to understand your vision. So, on the Hezbollah front, are they going to continue if this agreement is put in place, or are they going to? You said no.
No, they've said it. They've said it clearly from day one. This front is to assist Gaza. Once the situation in Gaza is settled, they're gonna cease fire.
Understood. Okay. Look, you have a pretty clear vision. Let's see what happens in the weeks and months to come. 3 months is not that far away.
My vision is very simple, despite, and I think in his heart Amos knows what I'm saying is true. And a lot of these Israelis sitting in the audience, they know what I'm saying is true. The Israelis have failed. Yeah, they have to accept defeat. It's time to accept defeat. The Israelis have failed their objectives. What's that, Jimmy? What do you want?
Stop with your brainwashing.
Okay, let me lay out the argument.
Okay,
if you're a reasonable person, then respond with rationality that counter mine and beat me. But you're being emotional now and triggered because you failed.
In our mouth, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, do you want to talk? Should I mute? Do you want to talk?
No, go ahead.
Okay. What is Israel's objective after October 7th? Twofold. Destroy Hamas and ethnically cleanse Gaza. They have failed to destroy Hamas. They have failed, approximately according to U.S. intel, Hamas still operates about 70% of its tunnels. According to U.S. intel, Hamas has only lost about 20% to 25% of its fighters. Ethnically cleanse Gaza, failed. The Egyptians aren't playing ball, the Jordanians aren't, and if we're talking about the West Bankers, the Jordanians aren't playing ball. Israel's objectives have failed. What do we have instead? We have today, compare and contrast, prior to October 7th and the aftermath of October 7th. We have Israel having even deeper troubles within their society. We have Israel's image as a superior military force in the Middle Eastern region come to an end. We have Israel turning into a pariah state in the world. We have
Are you fucking kidding me?
We have the world.
That's the excuse that everybody uses
we have
that
the
Israel's
world.
military problems are so
Excuse me.
great, and that's why
The
they're
world.
killing Palestinians.
The world.
And now you're saying that their
I will let you
military
speak.
prowess
Let me finish. I will let you speak. I know you're triggered. I know you're
No,
triggered.
you're just not making any sense.
I know you're triggered. triggered.
I'm not
Get your
triggered. Stop
fingers out of
saying
your
that.
panties. I know you.
Doesn't
When you
make
hear
any
the voice of a Palestinian
No, you're
man like me,
speaking
you get
nonsense.
horny.
Fred, you
Calm down.
talk a lot. Fred, you talk a lot. Let her. I don't know. I see her the first time. Let her speak. You talk too much, Fred. Speak, Jay.
You're
I
just
trigger you too much. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
you,
be
you
quiet.
think that you're hurting my feelings using that word, but you're not. You just don't know what it means. But you're speaking nonsense. The whole world is saying, "Oh, Israel is so powerful. Israel is hurting Palestinians."
You are muffled. Jay, you are muffled.
G, you're muffled. You're muffled.
Oh, Jesus. But can you hear me though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that that Israel's military prowess is being shown to be a myth. So which is it? Oh, cute, real cute.
Well, I mean, I can answer that if you'd like. So,
Well,
the thing is that
Real
I can
cute.
yeah,
That's
Gene,
fine.
listen, I
That's
can
fine.
answer that if you'd like.
Nice nose.
Listen,
Before you answer that, before you answer that, let's just look. Prince has a lot of opinions. I don't think he has receipts. But he's entitled to those opinions. Right?
Yeah, zoomed in on my nose.
I don't necessarily think that that he has any real understanding of how these things happen or work. But that's fine, right? I want to always understand the popular the I didn't kick him. I was talking. I always want to understand the popular point of view.
Nobody kick anyone from the room.
I mean, Prince is telling me that he got kicked.
Well, it wasn't me, and it wasn't Amos. It was Nathan.
It's not me.
Right?
Nobody
Just
kick
out
him.
of curiosity.
I don't know. The guy's telling me he got kicked. But listen, I want to
he's a
answer
liar.
your question, right?
I think he's a liar. Nobody kick him.
Nobody
I
got
don't
it.
think he's lying. The guy loves to spend time in these kinds of rooms. He literally lives for the TV more than anything else.
Okay, get to your point.
But listen, the thing is that I want to answer G's question. So, with regards to the military prowess as opposed to the slaughtering of civilians, you can be militarily weak, or your prowess could be threatened, right? In terms of military strength, like military on military strength, and still be able to slaughter civilians, right? Slaughtering civilians does not take a lot of military prowess. I can give a bunch of people AK-47s and just tell them to go down on the street. They can slaughter hundreds of thousands of people, no problem, right?
What
If
about
you're slaughtering, if it's a matter of slaughtering unarmed civilians, it's not very hard. Well, Shimmy, I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer G's question. It's a matter of slaughtering unarmed civilians, right? It's not very hard. It does not require a great deal of military prowess, nor does it require a great deal of military technology. You can literally do it with small arms and enough ammo. Because these are unarmed civilians that we're talking
They're
about.
not.
Now,
No,
when
they're
it's a
not.
matter of taking on another military organization, or in the case of Hamas, the quote-unquote terrorist organization, then I mean, definitely Israel's ability to defend themselves, their intelligence gathering, this has all been threatened. Israel was once touted as, having the best intelligence in the Middle East, even possibly in the world. Clearly, this is not true. They keep getting infiltrated. Israel, the Iron Dome was once touted as, the best form of defense.
Yeah, Benedict,
Which is not true, right? So a lot of these,
you're just making up these concepts
how am I making up these concepts? October 7th.
What does it have to do with Iron Dome?
Did Hamas not
Iron
get
Dome is
all
again.
of your
Israeli state. Everything that's supposed to say.
you're just making up these things again.
Am I making up October 7th now?
Look.
Really?
The reality is that there's a significant war going on in Gaza, right? The IDF is making significant strides, and that is a very cognitive dissonance experience for those who don't understand that IDF has done very significant work within the Gaza Strip, and to not understand that, right, would be a misunderstanding of the individual, of self, because one of the things that if IDF is losing, one of the things that Hamas keeps saying is that there's 30,000 people dead.
Yeah, but Marvin, you recognize that you're shifting the goalpost right now.
How did those people die?
No, but the thing is that you are shifting the goalpost.
How
was
would you go for it?
responding to was G. G was inquiring as to how the IDF could be both losing their military prowess and slaughtering a bunch of civilians.
Right, but they're not losing their military powers.
No,
That's
hold on,
not what I
let's
said.
let's put this up. Can you at least
No,
theoretically?
that's not what I said.
Isn't that, that is exactly what you were saying.
No,
You're saying
that's not what
that
I
on the one hand,
I
you're
said
saying
that the
if
whole
you
world-
lose their
Hold
military
on,
prowess,
Manana. Just give me 1 second. Where did Prince go? I came back.
I don't know.
Prince got
I-
kicked.
Did you guys kick him?
No,
Yeah, they
he
kicked
did
him.
not
Well,
get kicked.
Yes, they did kick him.
Ah, so why are you lying, Marvin?
Either Marvin or Aitan, one of them kicked him.
No. What I
Yeah, fuck that
Well,
shit.
it's not
Manana,
because
what's-
Amos doesn't say.
Because, no, hold on. This whole
Hold on.
room was supposed to be Amos' room.
Yeah, it is.
That we both
Yeah,
can
Amos
speak
is-
our minds.
Yeah,
Although
I-
the truth hurts, Marvin.
No,
Okay, hold on, G, I'm not speaking to you, okay? Respectfully, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to Marvin and the moderator here, okay? So what is the point of us being here if you guys are gonna kick our fellow friend? When we're discussing about some stuff. But yeah, there's no point of being here and talking to these
If you don't want
people.
to be here, that's your
No, shut up, Marvin. I'm not. Shut up, okay?
No, I-
Literally, you kicked him, Aitan?
But I didn't kick him.
Why? Because he
What
posted
of
the
these guys
picture.
did?
He posted the picture of the person he was discussing with, and I thought that was threatening her. I thought he was trying to threaten her, showing, "I can dox you. I know where you are. I'm after
Okay, hold on. I'm not saying it's right, but come on, you didn't have to kick him out for that.
Yeah, listen, I don't agree with it either.
I don't agree with him. I mean, yeah.
Hold on, this is what I'm saying.
She can shimmy a bit
Do you
slower.
understand now how I didn't kick him? You're doing that for no reason.
Wait, how does
You
this
all
have
wanna
anything to do with
think
doxing? He
Yes.
screenshot her PTR and drew
He
yes
has
or
no right. He
It
has
has
no
nothing to do
right
with
to.
doxing.
Actually, he has all the right to do that because if you put your picture out there, yes, if you post your picture on social media, you can't. Yes, exactly. Your picture is a public domain, so you cannot control what people do, G.
Let's get back to the
It's okay, honey. You're still ugly though.
Let's get back to the
I don't
conversation.
agree. Listen, Marvin, I don't agree with what he did. I don't like personally. But I would have warned him and told
I didn't do
him,
it.
you know.
Okay, Marvin, shut up. We know that Aitan did it. Shut the fuck up now. And G, shut the fuck up, you two.
Okay, so no, hold on. Firstly, I would have warned him.
Oh, calling me a bitch.
But more importantly, when I brought up,
I only
when I
did it
said
for one
that
reason
you
only.
guys
That's okay.
kicked him,
I think so. That's
when I inquired as to whether or not he was kicked,
Okay.
you both denied that you kicked him. And so
That's
I don't
because
know
he
why.
And both of them.
I did not deny.
And
I
Marvin
kicked it.
denied it.
I
Aitan
kicked it.
didn't say a goddamn thing.
Aitan did also deny it.
I did
No,
not
he didn't.
deny
He did not.
anything.
Unmute. One
Just
time.
for the record, I
Fucking
kicked her.
liar.
Just for the record, I kicked her. Okay.
Oh, you
So look,
kicked
Okay,
her.
for the record. Okay,
Look.
you do not come into our coexistence room and threaten people that you got kicked out of the room
That's not
because
a
you're not
threat,
cooperating with the
man.
room.
Come on.
Because you are not cooperating with the room.
Let's have the
What is so
conversation.
hard to
Let's get back to the
understand?
So you could have warned
About?
him, you could have asked him politely, you know, remove your picture.
That person's threatening people, so he's out. He thinks he's out of the room. I know where you are. That's out of the room.
Benny, do you want to talk or not? Benny, do you want to talk?
Honestly, I mean, I don't think there's a point. I'll come back when
Well,
Amos.
he's strawmanning me anyway.
I like
Okay, that's
Amos personally, yeah.
That's fine. Does anybody else not want to talk? You see how it works?
You know,
Once you start to actually-
I have thoroughly enjoyed just listening and witnessing people be their own worst enemies and
Yeah.
suffer the consequences of legitimate, moderation, curation. Because moderation is curation. Curation is moderation. Or, moderating. So, I mean,
look, nobody wants to have the real conversation. That's the problem.
people want to go on a platform and do their little 10-minute speeches. That's really what people want. It's like that
I
time.
want to make assertions and I'll back them up.
Exactly.
Why is it?
Is there anybody here that wants to have the conversation? Anybody in the
I
room,
have
please?
a problem with this being called a coexistence room, and nobody has any intention of coexisting, and it's all we're on the rules.
It's the title is irrelevant. Literally, this is that public square where people want to be uninterrupted. They want everyone else to listen to their soliloquy. This is like Toastmasters. Literally, people are demanding a 10-minute speech
Why
platform.
don't you just be honest? Why don't we just call it, they stab each other in the back room or something, and then let's be honest.
Hi, my name is Marvin Avalos, and I'd like to welcome you to my Toastmasters.
It is. This is Toastmasters. This is a
I want
lot.
to thank each and every one of you for attending, and I'd appreciate if you tip your waiter. let's talk a little bit. This one's not going to last too long because
I've
obviously everybody
literally
left.
had no one comment on my nose before, by the way.
But let's talk about what some of the things that they were saying, which I think is fascinating, right? One of the things is Prince was very clear that 3-ish months, and I gave him a plus or minus there, that the war would end, that it would end because of a decree or an agreement, and that Hezbollah would immediately stop based upon that ending. In my opinion, based upon the facts, Bibi has no intention of stopping this until Hamas is removed from Gaza, right? Secondly, he introduced this idea that they had an objective of genocide, right? I don't know where gets that from, so that's...
Oh, we know where he gets it from.
But as a military, getting the Hamas, didn't they already get half of the Hamas? They already did a pretty good job of wiping out Hamas militants.
Well, what I would say is, what we do know is that Hamas is in a court, and they're behaving, they're starting to dig in more, and they're less, how would I say, they're less visible, and they're more clandestine and more hidden, because as you start to get hunted down, you have less options, right? You can't necessarily do that much street fighting because you have less resources and less individuals. So you're more about hiding and survival versus attacking, seeking and destroying. So again, the second thing, the Holocaust, the nuclear Holocaust thing, I don't know where that comes from. That's another one. I think there are a couple other things that I missed, but whatever. It is what it is.
When you hear about other major battles from World War II, like St. Petersburg, it's hard to fathom, Russian colonels or generals or captains saying, if they turn back, unleash the machine guns and kill your own soldiers. But if you're going to do that with civilians, and because I think you have to look at all this through the lens of Sharia and Islam, and the priority is Islam, meaning that their system of terrorizing civilians and using Islam to justify it's a fully comprehensive system. So it's just in the same way that the Vietnamese rat holes, and they have these tunnels, and how the guerrilla war was a success in Vietnam, it cannot be a success in the same way in these micro pockets of Gaza. Israel has, this difficult task of cleansing the rat holes of these rats at the expense of them sacrificing their civilians. So it is a balance of force based on propaganda or public relations, and it's an unfortunate circumstance.
Because people are going to take your words out of context. You have to say the rats are Hamas, not the Palestinians. You have to say.
No,
that.
I get it. I know it's very
Even though we know what
sensitive.
you mean.
I know it's super sensitive, but honestly, at this point, like at 8:51 in the morning in my basement in my mom's underpants, like I could care less about being super delicately sensitive with my assessment.
Yeah, I need to know if they want to share it. Whose picture?
Yeah, I'm going down here.
Whose picture did Prince put up?
He put up G's nostril.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me.
And might I add, it's a very nice looking nostril.
Listen,
Thank you very much, Tom.
The point is, nobody threatens any. I don't know if she felt threatened or not, but I thought.
Yeah, I did. But
there you go.
I didn't see one blackhead in that beautiful punam.
Republican, I'm addressing something, please. Let's just okay. So I'm gonna get flack right now from Amos or whoever, and it doesn't bother me. In my rules, when I run a room, you do not threaten people with that kind of a thing. You just do not threaten people. So I don't know why I'm saying this now because everyone left the room.
Well, if you report it as a count, hopefully Clown House will take action, because Clown House is letting a lot of bad offenders on this app just persist.
He's an overgrown child, and I told him he laughed in my face, and everybody laughed with him. Nothing's going to happen. You know what I'm talking about, Republican. He's going to have.
Yeah, but that's why you let him talk, and then you let him trip on his own stones, and then you report his account.
Just don't show. You don't give him what he wants. He wants to trigger. This is a child, and I just don't show him that I trigger. But I will act effectively if he threatens somebody.
Yeah.
I'll take it from there.
100%.
He's just a child. He comes in these rooms because he doesn't get enough action or whatever in his life. I don't know what it is he's looking for.
He's bored beyond belief. This is his only outlet to some type of power, to some type of influence of others. This is it. This is as good as it gets for him in his present life and in his life. Hopefully one day he'll release the hate in his heart and live in love. But not likely. I think he'll probably repeat his pattern to the day he dies by the sword. Live by the sword, die by the sword. I hope one day he picks up the sword and starts getting closer to his imminent demise.
Prince.
Yeah, he's a schmuck. He's a dangerous person.
Yes. But I couldn't care less what happens with it. But when I'm in the room and I'm running the room, that's the way it's run. But yes, he could be dangerous. Someone like him, you don't know what he can pull, and then there's all kinds of things.
When he speaks, he puts himself in the third person. He lumps himself in with Hamas. He says he considers himself the communication resistance of this military Islamic army. He's a dangerous person.
He said some things which lead me to believe, without not me being a psychologist, but he's delusional. Something, and it's a delusional person with his whatever. It's not a safe person. So he had to be what's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, but I still believe that there is value in recording what he has to say, in the sense that you can document the insanity of basically propaganda and hypnosis, because I think Shimi even called out, stop your brainwashing. And basically when you give them a platform and you're letting somebody speak to you for 10 minutes and you're putting all that information in your brain, it does, well, first of all, the biggest impact is your emotional well-being. But the second thing is the disinformation and the misinformation. So, if that's the thing, is if you don't kick him and you let him persist and you let him, continue the communique, I mean, it's not responsible moderation in the slightest.
Well, again, opinions are opinions, and I agree with you that I don't agree with any of his opinions. But again, if I draw the line when it comes to this app being used to threaten somebody, or if he was to say, I'm going to go to your house, this has happened on the app. We know people that this has happened to them, where they actually went to their house and brought their families. So that's where I'm going with all this. That's why he was kicked out of the room. And if Amos is going to give me any crap about it, I'm just going to face him. I mean, he never give me a amount of gang. That be so be it as it is. But I don't think I have some very, very serious questions about how he does all this. I don't really believe for a minute that this is all about coexistence. I think it's about the Amos ego. And I think he just enjoys telling people, ordering them. And I think I don't know, I don't want to badmouth him in his own room right now, and he's not here. But there's got to be a line that's drawn, and we have to make it clear. We're not threatening people. We're not going to do those things. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a philosophical point. It's not anything else. It's not a political, ideological point. He didn't leave the room for any of those reasons. He left the room specifically because he was threatening somebody. And this person has said that she was threatened by it. So that's it.
Yeah, I get it. Anyways, with regards to coexistence, in Chicago, they have that beautiful coexistence temple in Evanston called, what is that place called?
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it in a while. But,
oh, it's called the Baha'i Faith.
Oh, no, that's not in Evanston. That's in Wilmette.
Oh, Wilmette. Yeah, then
I know somebody who works there.
A lot of great people came out of that place. A lot of famous people were members of that Baha'i temple there. And it is beautiful.
I used to go there occasionally on a Saturday afternoon. It was, the spring. It's a beautiful place. Has anyone ever been to this Baha'i temple in Illinois?
I've lived here my whole life. I've never been there.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I remember going to my family.
You can bring your boat there, apparently, and tie up at the dock.
Yeah, I think because it's right off the lake. I know the one in Israel, Haifa is really good. So they really put a lot of emphasis on botany and that kind of thing. They said it's beautiful religion.
That's one of the problems with a lot of these ceasefire genocide, people is that they're not getting any real education. They're basically just chatterboxes and repetition automatons. And so they're doing no self-actualization work. They're putting no psychological information into their consciousness. And so, this can be very disastrous for a lot of people's lives personally, meaning that like they'll never really amount to anything because they've wasted all their time and energy on ceasefire now and stop the genocide. And it's to their detriment to go down this radical leftist path of lawlessness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of young Jews. I mean,
Anyway, Chag Sameach.
Yeah, I think she's on the right roll here. Let's go with the Chag Sameach bit and
What's the holiday again?
Your Shavuot Zoe.
What's the holiday again?
It's Shavuot.
Shavuos.
When's the Farbrengen?
Pentecost.
My friend invited me to a Farbrengen in Rogers Park.
Where you go? Where you have fun?
Get drunk.
I'm drinking a little red wine right now, smoking some weed, sipping coffee.
I'll never forget this.
Wine and coffee at the same time at 9 in the morning. That's awesome.
Wine and coffee.
I'm not drinking whiskey. I'm drinking a little bit of light Pinot Noir on the rocks. I'm not getting drunk.
Well, you put a little bit of whiskey in your coffee, that makes more sense.
Ugh, I'd hate that flavor.
Irish coffee.
Irish coffee, yes. And being a quarter Irish,
I think drinking whiskey with orange juice is the way to go if you're going to drink whiskey.
Whiskey with orange juice.
Yeah, or pineapple juice.
Well, that's called screwdriver grape time.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
But whiskey and orange juice, it's a...
When I get to Israel, it's all like grapefruit juice and vodka. They don't even they don't even want to know about orange. It's kind of strange.
יש פסיפלורה בקוט דבח.
Exactly.
Oranges.
Oranges. I was reading this occult
That's how you
document.
know I'm from New York. I say orange. It's orange.
Orange is smart. One of that commercial. Orange. Oh, one of these things I heard speaking.
Anyways,
Again, I keep forgetting. I'm considerably older than most people in this room.
When I was a kid, my favorite knock joke was, aren't you glad I didn't say banana again?
Oh yeah.
I got a knock joke for you. Knock.
Who's there?
Nachman. Oh, that's so funny.
Anytime, you're what? 50 something?
58.
58?
Yep.
It's not so old.
Not old. Not old, not too old. But older than a lot of people in the room. They call me Papa. Some of them.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Is your dad still alive, Eitan?
Oh, blessed memory. He passed on about 4 years ago.
Oh.
5 years ago. We were supposed to do a family tour to Uzbekistan and we would see the family roots.
A trip to Uzbekistan. Oh my gosh.
Well, my family was pretty prominent there. They actually made a museum out of my great-great-great-grandfather's dwelling. They made a museum of the Bukhari Jewish community.
Really?
And yeah. I mean, my family, on my dad's side, was like either very prominent businessmen or like poets and artists and playwrights and all that. interesting on many levels to go.
That's amazing.
Good food.
It looks pretty nice. I've seen videos. It looks like a really well-ordered country. Like, it's clean, lawless, or lawful, I guess.
I've been to in Uzbek kosher restaurants in Queens. That's what I know of it. It's really good
Oh,
food.
yeah. Well, they probably had that rice pilaf called hush pilaf, which they have in two forms of either chicken or lamb. I prefer chicken. It's not as oily.
Yeah.
I have a picture of my daughter as a baby gnawing on a lamb chop bone at that restaurant. Adorable.
But musically, my favorite from all the Jewish cultures is Latino. I just love those Latino songs. It's just so.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
And I recommend anybody to go to YouTube. They have this hour-long musical kind of documentary, Toledo to Jerusalem. It's just so beautiful. And he explains. He goes from